live from Alta Loma Park. I'm sorry, Red Hill Park in Alta Loma. And Joe is also sitting with me. This is for Let Hope Arise movement that God has inspired me to launch. And it's been what, maybe 2 months now?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think
Am I
okay.
am I on with
Am I
you?
on with you?
I don't see you from where I'm looking at on the
Oh, I
screen,
think.
Oh,
but
I
I
see.
believe you are.
Yeah, I
So
think I
Yeah, I
think I
think
am
I think
because
I
in the
am
corner I
because in
see
the
your
corner
name.
I see your name.
okay, good. Can you see me or you
I
see
just
my
see your
name?
name. I
I
don't see your
just see your
picture.
name. I don't see your picture.
Okay, this is the first time we're doing this jointly out here in the park, and so we're also testing our devices to make sure that we actually know how to operate them and know what we're doing. So we either do or we don't. I'm not going to interrupt this broadcast now, but we will certainly. For those of you who are joining us live, we so appreciate your time. Thank you for responding to the invitation or to the notice that we are live, and for just joining us now. This is something we do every Thursday. We are at the park here, and of course, well, can't be here personally, will still be able to join. Even though we, but I think it's really important to try to make it as flexible and user friendly as possible. And let me tell you a little bit of what Let Hope Arise actually means or what it's all about. Of course, we are no strangers to the events that have been going on for the last almost 2 years, year and a half. And anyway, it's a much different atmosphere. And we've all gone through quite a bit, making adjustments, and it's not done. It's not over. We're not ever going to go back to what we knew to be 18 months ago. It's never going to be the same, and that's a good thing. That is absolutely awesome and wonderful. And I'm sure those of you or those of us who are believers in Christ, who are students and disciples of what God's teachings are and what His Word wants us to know about Him and about the things to come. It's not a surprise, and we're looking for even more. So this is the invitation where I'm inviting you to the more. And it's no secret also that there's a lot of voices, prophetic voices out there, a lot of apostolic figures that are sharing what God's revealing. Well, even to some of those no-namers, such as myself, God reveals Himself and He gives us revelation and insight.
By no means are you a no-namer or am I a no-namer. Because going from that song, I think it's Chester Bettistelli, we are famous in our Father's eyes. We are all famous in His eyes. You are famous in His eyes. Every one of us. But we need to engage that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for saying that. And I don't have to pay you to say that. I thank you. I think. Um, so just some of the things that God been revealing. We need. I need to personally. I need to organize these dreams, words that He gives. I know how to share them and impart them and bring others in that revelation. One thing I've learned for sure over this past year is as we to that gone out, Joe, we've done our trip. We've been given assignments to God to go out, and we've traveled across the country more than once.
Yeah.
And initially it's like, God, am I hearing you? And we go out, we do giving us instructions to do throughout the entire journey, talking to us, giving things to us, and it's just so rich that we come back and it's like, oh my goodness, where do I start? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with all this information? And how do I reveal it? How do I share it? Because I know it's not just for me, it's not just for you. They're not just awesome stories. There's a lot of um, information, a lot of good revelation in these encounters, in this experience. And so that's what Let the Rise is about. Before we even took our first trip, I remember you and I had a conversation, and it was all new. We were still on the verge of stepping into what he was leading us into. And the conversation was, I think God is inviting us into to build something. I don't know if it's a new ministry or if it's a movement or what exactly. I didn't know what to call it. I was thinking, God, what do you want to call it? What is this supposed to be about? And it took me back to, he said hope. And it caused me to remember a day when Apostle Mark Tubbs had come to Refuge, and we were there for training. And early in the time that we had with him as a leadership team, he stopped and he walked over to me at the table and he said, I see you holding a sword of hope. I don't know if you remember that or not, but he said, I see you holding a sword of hope. And it impacted me so much at that moment. I need to hear that. And so when it was almost a year later, it was actually not quite a year later, maybe 9 months later or so, you and I were having this conversation about what God was inviting us into. And when I heard the word hope pop into my mind, it took me back to that moment. I said, God, that's so cliche. You know, I said, who hasn't used that word hope in some way for, Bible study or something like that. And so I asked him, what do you mean hope? What does it look like? And he said it's an acronym. I just love the way Papa got to it because he's like, oh, sweetheart. It's an acronym. It means heaven on planet Earth. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And so this past, maybe not quite a year. It's been about 8 months or so, 9 months, I think, that we've been on this awesome journey, or the heart of this journey of God. He's been revealing so much. I truly believe I understand what heavenizing planet Earth is supposed to look like with all the revelation he's given us. The most recent work he gave me is actually two, but the one I'm going to focus on today is Devil's in the Details. And this is something he said to me, I think it was February 21st. And we were preparing for a second trip across the country. And I was prepping in. I knew God wanted us to do something, but I was asking, what's the purpose this time? What is our objective? And he gave me that is it a cliche or it's an idiom. And he said, the devil's in the details. I thought, oh, okay, that's an invitation to do some research and learn what that means. And interestingly enough, what I learned is this is an idiom that was birthed in the 60s, okay? And before that, prior to that, there was another idiom, which was God is in the details. Now, obviously, these are contrasting, mean different things, and the opposite, actually. But it was interesting that throughout the 1800s and the early 1900s, people used this expression, God is in the details. And it was a reference to be thorough, to being excellent, and the goodness of whatever that was being, whatever the goal and the objective was of the either agreement or the task. God is in the details. And my question is, what happened? What changed? Why, since the 60s, did the idiom become the devil's in the details? And how come I wasn't aware? And I've never heard anybody else say God is in the details. I never even knew that such an expression was ever floated around and was part of common, speech and communication. But certainly we all know the devil's in the details. Anytime, somebody puts an agreement or a contract in front of me, or we negotiate something like that, we already know, look at the fine print. You want to make sure you get the devil out of those details. Well, in Let Hope Rise and through this journey, mostly when we went across the country in March, this last month, that was really something that was at front of my thinking and my observations, to really hear from God about what that meant and how he would expand that for me to know. And I get it. As you know, Joe, you and I had an encounter in Sweetwater, Texas.
Yes.
And I went into the details of that. because it would probably take quite a bit of time here. But I'll just say this: He gave you words. Maybe you should share that since you are doing all the talking, and just in summary, we just kind of share what it meant, I guess, what it kind of represented.
Yeah, that area of Sweetwater, Texas, the pumps, well, the pumps are more prevalent than you see them off the road. What God had showed me was that just like those pumps, excuse me, my voice, just there, okay, maybe that'll work. But just like those oil pumps, he showed me that with especially the farming, what he's doing is he's removing sludge, that ugly that the enemy is put in the ground, and he did it slowly. So he's pulling out the stuff that the enemy has, but it was done in Sweetwater, Texas, because he's showing that he is pouring his sweet water himself into the ground. And it brought me to that scripture, 2 Chronicles, I believe it's through 17, where he says, if my people pray and repent, turn from their evil ways, I would hear their prayers and heal the land. And so, see, God is hearing the intercessors. He's hearing his people reach out, and he's pulling the sludge out of the ground, and he's pouring his sweet water into the ground. Right now, God is healing the ground. So don't get so focused on what you may see in the natural, what you see in the media, especially. God is on the move. God is doing things. And I would encourage you to engage in what he's doing, and just spend time and say, God, show me. What are you doing? So you can partner. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you for sharing that part. Joe, I'm sorry. And I have a great relationship, and I'm actually very excited uh, for the expectation that it's actually going to continue to get better and stronger. And so I'm pressing in for that. But in the meanwhile, God has made Joe and I more of a team. And the manner in which he's done that is he will now speak to Joe and understand. And it's a way that God makes us a team so that Joe's getting the word, he speaks it to me, I get the revelation, and he can give it to Joe as well. But anyway, in this instance, when we're there in Sweetwater, and as I pressed in and prayed about it, I understand that God wants the devil out of the details. There were other things he showed me, other things he spoke to me. And so as time goes on, continue to talk more about those things. But for this moment, it's important for us to realize that in that moment, what he was giving an illustration of removing the sludge, it was out of ground, it was out of territory. There are actually multiple territories. It's the sludge of the enemy isn't just in the earth. And it's not only the earth creation that is being reconciled, just as in the scripture verse that you had cited. It's not just creation. It is our mind. It is our emotions. It is our physical bodies. It is the atmosphere. So all these are territories, and we need to evict the enemy. We need to evict the enemy. You know, God said that we would storm the gates of hell, and that the enemy would have no defense, no defense. And so these are some of the things that we will continue to talk about. And this Let Hope Arise time on Thursdays. Again, we are meeting here in person, 11 a.m. In Red Park in Alta Loma. And then I will be adding probably a Zoom invitation so that anybody who cannot be here quickly will be able to join either live on YouTube or Facebook or on Zoom. And we want to make sure that as many of you are called and are interested and in wanting to know better what it is that God is doing and inviting us into, that we just have, every opportunity to invite you in and make a way for you to be included and involved. If you have any feedback that you'd like to communicate, there's comment sections. However you're viewing right now, go ahead and comment. I'll be sure to look back and respond, or any comments you may have. You can also get questions on comments. Obviously, we'd love to hear some feedback. And at this point, I would just say thank you for tuning in. No, say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending time with us. We look forward to spending time again soon. And also, there'll be other videos and other invitations for this as we go on. I won't say much about it now, but we'll certainly get some more information out. I'll go ahead and let you, George.
Yeah, and as we're coming to the end of this video, it's 15 minutes. For those of you that are still there, that to the end, thank you. We encourage you to download HAPSAP, become part of the community, and then subscribe to our channel. I'm Coach Papa Joe. You can download or subscribe to Carmen Patrice. But that way you'll be notified whenever it is we go live, and you can support what we're doing. So I encourage you, first of all, to join by downloading the HAPSAP. May God be with you and bless you in all you're doing.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Bye.